Close your eyes and imagine a quiet night beside the Nile. The river moves slowly through the darkness. Its black surface reflects a few pale stars. Along the banks, clusters of mud-brick homes rest beneath the warm Egyptian sky. Most people are asleep now. The sounds of the day have faded away. The shouting of merchants is gone. The creaking of carts has stopped. Even the donkeys seem quiet. Only the river continues its endless journey. A soft breeze drifts across the water and moves through narrow village paths. It carries the smell of damp earth, river reeds, and yesterday's baking fires. Somewhere in the darkness, a dog shifts in its sleep. A few insects hum softly among the reeds. The world feels still. But while most of the village sleeps, tomorrow's bread has already begun its journey. Inside a small mud-brick house, hidden from the quiet streets outside, a bowl of dough rests beneath a cloth. It sits patiently in the darkness. Nothing about it seems important. Nothing about it appears remarkable. And yet, for the people of ancient Egypt, this simple bowl contains tomorrow's breakfast, tomorrow's labor, tomorrow's comfort. The dough waits. And so do the people. Tonight, we spend our time not with kings or temples, but with something much quieter. We spend our time waiting for bread dough to rise. Thousands of years ago, bread was not simply food. It was part of nearly every day. Rich families ate bread. Poor families ate bread. Farmers carried bread into the fields. Builders carried bread to construction sites. Fishermen carried bread onto boats. Bread appeared on tables, in workshops, beside riverbanks, and inside crowded homes. Many people ate it several times each day. The preparation of bread filled countless hours of Egyptian life. It required grain, water, labor, patience, and time. And perhaps the quietest part of all was the waiting. The waiting could not be hurried. The dough would rise in its own time. As the village sleeps tonight, let us step softly into one of these homes. The house belongs to an ordinary family. No one here is famous. No monuments will be built in their honor. No scribes will carefully record their names for future generations. Yet families like theirs formed the heart of Egypt. The house stands along a dusty lane near a farming village. Its walls are made from sun-dried mud bricks. During the day, the walls absorb heat from the powerful Egyptian sun. Long after sunset, they continue releasing that warmth into the night. The roof is flat. The rooms are simple. A few woven mats lie on the floor. Storage jars stand against the walls. A wooden stool occupies one corner. Everything inside serves a purpose. Nothing is wasted. Near the center of the room sits the bowl of dough. The woman who prepared it finished her work hours ago. Her hands had spent much of the afternoon grinding grain. The work was difficult and tiring. Back and shoulders ached. Fine particles of flour clung to her skin and clothing. Grinding grain was one of the most common tasks in ancient Egypt. It was also one of the most exhausting. Many women spent years bent over grinding stones. The movement repeated itself day after day, month after month, year after year. Forward. Press. Pull back. Forward again. The grain slowly became flour. There were no machines. Only effort. Only patience. Only time. The flour itself had already traveled a long journey before reaching this house. Months earlier, farmers planted grain in fertile soil left behind by the Nile's floods. The river shaped everything. Its annual flooding brought life to the land. Rich black mud spread across fields. Crops grew where otherwise there might have been only dry earth. Farmers watched the river closely. They understood its rhythms. Their lives depended on it. When floodwaters retreated, planting began. Seeds disappeared into moist soil. Then came weeks of waiting. The waiting for rain. The waiting for growth. The waiting for harvest. Ancient Egyptian life contained many kinds of waiting. Waiting for the river. Waiting for crops. Waiting for boats. Waiting for cooler weather. Waiting for bread dough. The grain that now rests inside this family's dough once stood beneath the sun as green stalks swaying gently in warm winds. Harvest season eventually arrived. Workers entered the fields carrying simple tools. They cut the grain, bundled it, carried it, stored it. The work happened beneath intense heat. Sweat gathered on foreheads. Dust covered feet and legs. The sun moved slowly across the sky. Yet the labor continued. Because grain meant survival. Without grain, there would be no bread. Without bread, daily life became much harder. Now that same grain has become flour. The flour has become dough. And the dough waits beneath a cloth. The family sleeps nearby. The father lies on a woven mat. Years of farm work have shaped his body. His hands are rough. His muscles carry the memory of countless days spent lifting, digging, carrying, and harvesting. Today began before sunrise. Like many Egyptian farmers, he woke while darkness still covered the land. Morning arrived gradually. The eastern sky brightened. Birds began their calls. The Nile reflected streaks of pale gold. Soon work began. Always work. Animals needed attention. Fields required care. Irrigation channels demanded maintenance. Tools needed repair. Every season brought different responsibilities. Every day brought labor. Now, after hours beneath the Egyptian sun, sleep comes easily. His breathing is slow, steady, peaceful. Nearby, children sleep as well. One curls beneath a simple cloth. Another rests beside a storage jar. Their days are different from their parents', yet they too contribute to household life. Children learn early. They fetch water. Carry small bundles. Assist with chores. Observe adults. Slowly, they grow into their responsibilities. Life in ancient Egypt often followed familiar patterns. The same river. The same fields. The same routines. The same bread. Generation after generation. Outside, the village remains quiet. Moonlight touches the tops of walls. Palm trees stand motionless against the night sky. A fisherman sleeps near his boat. Tomorrow he will return to the river. The Nile never truly rests. Even now, water continues flowing northward. The river carries boats, fish, stories, and livelihoods. Many Egyptians lived their entire lives beside its banks. Some rarely traveled far from home. The river provided enough. Fish. Transportation. Water. Fertile land. A sense of rhythm. Its presence shaped daily existence. Back inside the house, the dough continues changing. Slowly. Silently. No one watches it. No one hears it. Yet tiny transformations unfold within the mixture. Ancient Egyptian bakers did not understand microorganisms as modern people do. But they understood results. Experience taught them. Observation guided them. Generations passed down practical knowledge. They knew some doughs rose well. Others did not. They learned which methods produced better bread. Knowledge traveled through families and workshops. Not through scientific explanations. Through repetition. Through memory. Through practice. The woman who prepared this dough learned from older hands. Perhaps her mother taught her. Perhaps an aunt. Perhaps a grandmother whose own hands once shaped dough beside another section of the Nile many decades earlier. Such lessons often traveled quietly through generations. A child watched. Then helped. Then practiced. Then eventually taught someone else. Simple knowledge survived because people lived it every day. The dough rests in a clay bowl. The bowl itself came from another worker's labor. Potters shaped countless vessels across Egypt. Storage jars. Cooking pots. Bowls. Containers for beer. Containers for grain. Containers for water. Clay surrounded daily life. A potter may have spent hours shaping this bowl years ago. His hands pressing wet clay. His feet turning a wheel. His eyes studying curves and balance. Then firing the finished piece in heat. Now the bowl serves another household. Another family. Another ordinary evening. The night grows deeper. Temperatures cool slightly. The heavy heat of daytime loosens its grip. This is often the most pleasant part of the day. Workers rest. Animals settle. The air feels gentler. A distant breeze drifts across open fields. Somewhere beyond the village, guards keep watch over storage areas and livestock. Elsewhere, travelers sleep beside roads. Merchants rest beside packed goods. Boat crews sleep on decks beneath the stars. Egypt does not stop entirely at night. But its pace softens. Much like the dough. Hours pass. The cloth covering the bowl remains still. Yet underneath, the dough slowly expands. Its surface rises. Tiny pockets form. The change is gradual enough to seem motionless. If someone stared at it, they might see nothing happening. Yet by morning, the difference will be clear. Waiting is like that. Ancient Egyptians understood waiting. Farmers certainly did. So much of agriculture depended on patience. Seeds required time. Floods required time. Harvests required time. The river followed its own schedule. People adjusted themselves accordingly. In many ways, bread reflected the larger rhythms of Egyptian life. Preparation. Waiting. Work. Reward. Then preparation again. The cycle never truly ended. Far from this village, larger bakeries also operate. Some belong to wealthy households. Others supply workers and officials. There, teams of laborers handle enormous amounts of grain and dough. The air smells of flour and smoke. Workers move constantly. Grinding. Mixing. Carrying. Baking. Sweat shines on foreheads. Ovens radiate heat. The work is demanding. Yet even in those busy bakeries, dough still requires waiting. No amount of effort can entirely remove that step. The dough rises when it is ready. Time remains part of the recipe. Back in the village house, darkness begins slowly shifting. The deepest part of night approaches. Most people remain asleep. Dreams drift through quiet rooms. The father dreams of fields. The mother dreams of familiar voices. The children dream in ways that no future historian will ever know. Their private thoughts disappear into time. History often remembers rulers. Yet millions of ordinary dreams have vanished without record. Still, those dreams once mattered deeply to the people who dreamed them. The sleeping family knows nothing of future centuries. Nothing of archaeologists. Nothing of museums. Nothing of books that will one day describe their civilization. They simply live, work, eat, sleep, wake. And tomorrow they will eat bread. The dough continues rising. The bowl sits near a wall illuminated faintly by moonlight entering through a small opening. Dust rests on the floor. The room smells faintly of grain and clay. The silence feels comfortable. Not empty. Just quiet. The kind of quiet that arrives after a long day of labor. Outside, reeds whisper beside the river. A fish disturbs the water's surface. Then stillness returns. The Nile flows onward beneath the stars. And inside the house, hidden from the world, tomorrow's bread slowly grows beneath its cloth. Its patient transformation continues through the ancient night. The night continues its slow passage over the Nile. Hours drift by so gently that they seem almost motionless. The stars remain scattered across the dark sky, shining above fields, villages, temples, and riverbanks. The warm breath of the desert moves softly across the land, carrying traces of dust and dry earth. Inside the small mud-brick house, the family remains asleep. The room is still. The clay bowl rests where it was left. Beneath the cloth, the dough has grown larger than it was before. No sound announces the change. No voice speaks of it. The transformation happens quietly, as so many important things do. Ancient Egypt was filled with moments like this. A seed beneath soil. A reed growing beside the river. A child becoming an adult. A wall slowly weathered by years of sun. A loaf slowly taking shape long before it reaches an oven. Many of life's most necessary changes unfolded beyond notice. The dough waits patiently in darkness, and the darkness waits patiently for dawn. Far beyond the village, the Nile continues its endless movement. A small fishing boat rocks gently near the shore. Its owner sleeps nearby on a woven mat beneath a simple shelter made from reeds and wood. His hands are scarred from years of pulling nets through water. The river has shaped his life since childhood. He understands its moods. He knows where fish often gather. He knows which stretches of water become difficult when winds arrive. Tomorrow, before sunlight reaches the tops of the palm trees, he will wake. The day will begin again. For now, however, sleep has claimed him. The same peaceful stillness settles over much of Egypt. Farmers sleep. Builders sleep. Potters sleep. Servants sleep. Scribes sleep. Even the animals seem calmer. A donkey shifts slightly near a wall. A goat breathes slowly beneath a shelter. A few chickens rest with heads tucked beneath wings. The village appears frozen in time. Yet beneath the surface of stillness, tomorrow quietly approaches. Near the center of the village stands a communal oven used by several families. Its fire died down hours ago. The stones retain some warmth from the previous day's baking. Ash rests undisturbed. Tomorrow morning, smoke will rise once more. People will gather. Conversations will begin. Fresh dough will arrive. But for now, the oven rests. The oven waits. Much like the dough itself. Waiting was woven deeply into daily life. Many tasks could not be rushed. Water jars needed filling. Fields needed tending. Fish needed catching. Cloth needed weaving. Mud bricks needed drying beneath the sun. Even the construction of great monuments required endless patience. Workers lifted one stone at a time. One journey. One load. One day. Then another. And another. Years passed. Decades passed. Life itself often moved at a slower pace than many people might imagine. The rhythm of ancient Egypt was not measured by clocks. It was measured by sunlight, by shadows, by seasons, by the river. Inside the house, a faint moonbeam reaches across the floor. It touches the edge of the bowl. The cloth remains draped over the dough. The woman who prepared it trusted the process enough to leave it alone. Experience taught her that constant attention was unnecessary. The dough knew its work. Its quiet task would continue through the night. Earlier that day, after grinding flour, she mixed the ingredients carefully. Water from the Nile. Ground grain. A starter from previous batches. Perhaps a small amount of salt if available. Her hands kneaded the mixture until it became smooth and workable. The work required strength. Bread making was rarely effortless. Every loaf represented labor. Every meal carried the memory of many hands. The grain farmer. The water carrier. The potter who made the bowl. The person who gathered fuel. The baker who prepared the dough. Countless ordinary efforts joined together inside a single loaf. The people of Egypt may not have spoken about this often. There was little time for such reflections. Work demanded attention. Yet their daily lives depended on cooperation. Villages functioned because everyone contributed. One person alone could accomplish very little. Together, they created entire communities. A breeze enters through a narrow opening in the wall. The cloth covering the dough shifts slightly, then becomes still again. The room smells faintly of flour. There is comfort in the scent. For thousands of years, the smell of grain has signaled safety to families. It meant food. It meant preparation. It meant another day would begin with something to eat. In difficult years, grain shortages brought worry. Floods did not always arrive as expected. Harvests were not always plentiful. Nature could be generous. Nature could also be uncertain. This uncertainty shaped people's lives. Many households stored grain whenever possible. Storage jars lined walls. Carefully sealed. Carefully protected. A full jar offered reassurance. An empty jar brought concern. Tonight, however, this family's jars still contain enough. The coming morning promises bread. Outside, the sky begins changing so slowly that nobody notices. The eastern horizon remains dark. Yet somewhere beyond sight, dawn has already begun its long approach. The earth continues turning. Night gradually loosens its hold. The stars remain bright for now. The village remains asleep. The dough continues rising. Its surface now appears fuller beneath the cloth. Tiny pockets of air have expanded throughout the mixture. The future loaf slowly becomes lighter. More alive with possibility. Soon it will be shaped. Soon it will meet heat. Soon it will fill the room with its familiar smell. But not yet. For now, there is only waiting. Let us wander gently beyond the house and into the sleeping village. The paths between homes are narrow. Footprints remain in the dust from the previous day. Children ran here. Workers passed carrying baskets. Goats wandered through. Now the paths are empty. Moonlight touches mud-brick walls. The village seems almost dreamlike. A storage building stands near the edge of the settlement. Inside are sacks of grain collected after harvest. The grain sleeps too, in its own way. Patient. Silent. Waiting for future meals. Nearby, a small workshop stands dark and quiet. During daylight, it belongs to craftsmen. Woodworkers sometimes labor here. Repairs are made. Tools are shaped. Simple furniture is constructed. The work demands skill and concentration. The workshop may not appear impressive, yet its products support daily life. A stool. A box. A handle for a farming tool. Useful objects often receive little attention from history. Yet without them, ordinary life becomes difficult. The same can be said for bread. No grand celebration accompanies tomorrow's loaf. No ceremony marks its arrival. The family will simply eat it and continue their day. Still, countless Egyptian lives depended upon such simple meals. The Nile itself glimmers beneath moonlight. The water reflects silver shapes that shift and disappear. Along the shore, reeds sway softly. Their movement creates gentle rustling sounds. The riverbank smells damp and earthy. Life flourishes here. Birds gather during daylight. Fish swim below the surface. Insects hum among the plants. The river nourishes everything nearby. Without the Nile, ancient Egypt would have been a very different place. Many villages existed because of its presence. Fields thrived because of its waters. Families survived because of its generosity. The bread rising tonight owes its existence to the river. The grain came from Nile-fed fields. The water came from the river itself. Even the clay used to make the bowl may have originated nearby. The Nile touched nearly every part of daily life. A distant owl calls into the darkness. Its voice fades quickly. Silence returns. The village remains wrapped in sleep. Within another house, an elderly woman lies awake for a moment. Age has made sleep lighter. She listens to the night. The distant river. The soft wind. The occasional movement of animals. She has heard these sounds for decades. They are familiar companions. Soon her eyes close once more. Sleep returns. Her life has witnessed countless loaves of bread. Countless harvests. Countless seasons. Perhaps she remembers learning to knead dough as a child. Perhaps she remembers standing beside her mother near an oven. Watching carefully. Learning through observation. Such memories often survive longest. Simple moments. Ordinary lessons. The passing of knowledge from one generation to another. No written record preserves these exchanges. Yet they shape the lives of millions. Far away in a larger town, bakers may already be stirring. Not everyone sleeps at the same time. Some workers begin before dawn. Large bakeries supplying laborers require preparation. Fuel must be gathered. Ovens heated. Ingredients organized. Work begins while stars still shine overhead. The smell of smoke will soon rise into the cool morning air. The first bread of the day is already approaching. Meanwhile, our village remains peaceful. The dough rests quietly. Its work is nearly complete. Soon the woman will wake. Soon her feet will touch the cool floor. Soon she will uncover the bowl. But the night has not ended yet. There is still time for stillness. Still time for silence. Still time for the soft breathing of sleeping families. The darkness settles comfortably around the house. The walls release the last traces of stored warmth. The air feels slightly cooler than it did a few hours earlier. For workers accustomed to intense daytime heat, these nighttime hours offer relief. Many Egyptians treasured the cooler parts of the day. Work under the midday sun could be exhausting. Fields shimmered with heat. Stone surfaces grew hot beneath bare hands. Long walks became tiring. Sweat-soaked clothing. Shade became precious. Night brought rest. Night brought recovery. And tonight, while the family sleeps and the village dreams, tomorrow's bread continues its patient journey beneath a simple cloth in a humble bowl. The dough rises a little more. The stars slowly fade. And somewhere beyond the eastern horizon, the first faint promise of morning begins to gather. The first signs of morning arrive so quietly that nobody notices them at first. The stars are still visible above the Nile. The village remains wrapped in darkness. Most people continue sleeping beneath simple coverings, their breathing slow and steady after long days of labor. Yet the night is changing. Far to the east, beyond fields and riverbanks and distant stretches of desert, a faint pale light begins to gather along the horizon. It is not yet dawn. It is only the earliest hint. The world remains calm. Inside the small mud brick house, the bowl of dough sits where it has rested all night. The cloth covering it hangs softly over the rim. Beneath it, the dough has risen far beyond its earlier shape. Its surface is rounded now. Full. Ready. The transformation has taken many hours. No rushing. No forcing. Only patience. The same patience that shaped so much of life in ancient Egypt. The same patience that carried farmers through planting seasons and guided builders through years of construction. The same patience that allowed families to endure difficult summers and uncertain harvests. Outside, a cool breeze drifts through the village. It carries the smell of damp riverbanks and distant reeds. For a brief time before sunrise, the air feels gentler than it will later in the day. Many workers cherish these hours. The heat has not yet arrived. The sun has not yet begun its climb. The land seems to pause between darkness and daylight. A rooster stirs. Not yet crowing. Only shifting slightly on its perch. Nearby, a donkey flicks its tail. The animal remains half asleep. The village still belongs to the night. But not for much longer. Within the house, the mother wakes first. This is often how her mornings begin. Long before many others rise. Long before the village becomes busy. Her eyes open slowly. For a moment she remains still, listening. The familiar sounds surround her. The distant river. The soft breathing of family members. The occasional rustle of wind against the walls. Everything feels normal. Comfortingly familiar. She sits up. The woven mat beneath her creaks softly. Her feet touch the floor. The clay surface feels cool compared to the warmth that will arrive later. For a moment she simply sits in silence. The day has not fully begun. There is no hurry yet. Only the quiet awareness that work awaits. Work always awaits. Ancient Egyptian households rarely enjoyed idle mornings. Every day carried responsibilities. Water needed collecting. Food needed preparing. Animals needed attention. Fields required labor. Tools required maintenance. The tasks changed with seasons, but work remained constant. The woman rises and moves quietly through the room. She does not wish to wake the children. Not yet. They deserve a little more rest before the day begins. A faint gray light now enters through a small opening near the roof. The darkness softens. Shapes become easier to see. Storage jars emerge from shadow. The wooden stool becomes visible. The clay bowl sits patiently near the wall. She approaches it. This moment is familiar. She has performed it countless times. Her hands reach for the cloth. Gently she lifts it. The dough has risen well. Its surface appears larger and lighter than it was the previous evening. Tiny bubbles mark its skin. The sight brings quiet satisfaction. Not excitement. Simply reassurance. The dough has done what it was supposed to do. The morning can continue. For families throughout Egypt, small successes like this matter. A good batch of dough. A healthy goat. A strong harvest. A repaired tool. Life often depends upon ordinary things working as expected. The woman places the cloth aside. She studies the dough briefly. Years of experience have taught her what to look for. She does not need measurements. She does not need written instructions. Her hands know. Her eyes know. Knowledge lives within practice. The room gradually brightens. Outside, the sky shifts from black to deep blue. A few birds begin calling from nearby trees. The village slowly awakens. The woman prepares a work surface. She scatters flour. The fine powder settles across the surface like pale dust. Then she reaches into the bowl. The dough feels soft beneath her fingers. Warm from its long night of rising. She lifts it carefully. The weight pulls gently against her hands. The texture is familiar. Comforting. The dough stretches slightly before settling onto the prepared surface. She begins shaping it. Press. Fold. Turn. The movements are steady and practiced. Not rushed. Not careless. The rhythm has developed over years. Perhaps decades. Nearby, one of the children stirs. The faint sounds of preparation have reached sleeping ears. The child rolls over and opens tired eyes. For a moment there is only confusion, the gentle uncertainty that often comes between sleep and wakefulness. Then recognition returns. Morning. Another day. The child sits up. Hair tousled. Eyes still heavy. The smell of fresh dough already fills part of the room. Not yet bread. But close. Very close. Outside, more signs of life appear. A door opens. Someone steps into the cool air. Sandals scrape softly against packed earth. Another family begins their morning. Then another. Then another. Across the village, dozens of households emerge from sleep. The same process unfolds in many homes. People rise. Stretch tired muscles. Prepare food. Gather tools. Think about the work ahead. Some mornings feel easier than others. Fatigue accompanies many Egyptian workers. Long hours leave their mark. Years of physical labor shape bodies permanently. Backs ache. Knees stiffen. Hands become rough. The demands of survival are constant. Yet each morning people rise again. The day requires it. The woman finishes shaping several loaves. Their surfaces are smooth and rounded. They rest nearby while other preparations continue. Soon they will enter the oven. Soon the smell of baking bread will spread through the village. A smell known throughout Egypt. A smell tied to comfort and routine. The father begins to wake. His eyes open slowly. For a moment he watches the room without speaking. The familiar morning scene greets him. The dough. The flour. The quiet movement of preparation. Another day has arrived. His muscles feel heavy from yesterday's labor. The feeling is familiar. Many Egyptian workers wake this way. Their bodies carry yesterday into today. The fields demand effort. The river demands effort. Construction demands effort. Everything requires effort. Still, the morning air offers a brief kindness. The heat has not yet arrived. There is time before the sun becomes powerful. He rises. The family exchanges a few quiet words. Nothing dramatic. Nothing memorable enough for history books. Simple conversation. Simple life. The kind of moments that filled countless Egyptian mornings. Outside, the eastern horizon glows with growing light. Palm trees stand dark against the brightening sky. The Nile reflects pale bands of color. Gold. Silver. Soft blue. The river appears peaceful. Almost motionless from a distance. Yet it continues its endless movement toward the sea. A fisherman emerges from his shelter near the shore. He stretches and looks toward the water. Soon he will launch his boat. Soon nets will enter the river. The day's work approaches. Elsewhere, farmers begin gathering tools. Wooden handles rest against walls. Baskets wait to be carried. Paths leading toward fields slowly fill with movement. The village awakens completely. Children fetch water. Women prepare meals. Men organize equipment. Animals become active. The sounds of life return. Not loud. Not chaotic. Simply steady. A living rhythm repeated thousands of times across generations. Back inside the house, the loaves are ready for baking. The woman prepares to carry them to the oven. A woven tray supports their weight. The shaped dough rests quietly upon it. Only a few hours earlier, it was a sleeping mixture hidden beneath cloth. Now it approaches its final form. The tray is lifted carefully. The door opens. Morning air enters. The family steps outside. The village feels transformed from the silent darkness of night. Smoke begins rising from a few chimneys. Birds move between trees. Neighbors greet one another softly. The day stretches ahead. The communal oven stands ready. Several people have already gathered. Each carries dough prepared during the previous evening. Each household followed a similar rhythm. Mixing. Kneading. Waiting. Sleeping. Rising. Baking. The oven serves as a meeting place as much as a cooking place. Neighbors exchange news. Discuss weather. Mention crops. Speak about family matters. Nothing grand. Nothing destined for historical records. Yet these conversations form the fabric of daily life. The baker tending the oven checks the heat. Years of experience guide the judgment. The stones radiate warmth. The fire has done its work. Now the bread can begin its final transformation. One by one, loaves enter the oven. The family's dough disappears into the heat. And so begins another period of waiting. A shorter waiting. But waiting nonetheless. The smell arrives gradually. At first faint. Then stronger. Warm grain. Toasted crust. A scent capable of drifting through streets and across courtyards. The aroma spreads through the village. People notice. Children certainly notice. Fresh bread attracts attention. It always has. The family waits nearby. Morning sunlight now reaches the tops of buildings. The first true warmth touches the land. Shadows shorten slightly. The day is beginning in earnest. Soon workers will head toward fields. Soon boats will move along the river. Soon workshops will fill with activity. But for now, many eyes remain on the oven. Waiting. Just as the dough waited through the night. Just as the grain once waited in the field. Just as the Nile waits for no one and yet patiently nourishes all. The smell of baking bread grows richer. The village fills with it. And beneath the gentle light of an Egyptian morning, another ordinary day begins beside the river that has sustained generations beyond counting. The smell of baking bread settles gently over the village. It drifts through narrow pathways between mud-brick homes. It moves past storage jars resting beside walls. It follows the morning breeze toward the river, where fishermen prepare their boats and farmers gather for the day's work. The scent is warm and familiar. No one stops to admire it for very long. There is too much to do. Yet almost everyone notices it. Bread is woven so deeply into daily life that its presence feels as natural as sunlight or river water. The oven radiates steady heat. Families wait nearby. Some sit on low walls. Others stand in small groups speaking quietly about ordinary matters. The conversation moves slowly. A neighbor mentions a stubborn goat that wandered into a garden. Another speaks of irrigation channels that need clearing. Someone else wonders whether the coming season will bring a strong harvest. The topics are simple. The concerns are familiar. Many generations before them have spoken of similar things. Many generations after them will do the same. The family watches the oven patiently. The father shifts his weight from one foot to another. The mother keeps an eye on the baking loaves. The children glance toward the oven every few moments, curious and hopeful. Fresh bread always seems worth waiting for. Above them, the sky brightens further. The last traces of night disappear completely. The sun now rises above the horizon, casting long golden beams across the land. Palm leaves catch the light. The river sparkles. Shadows stretch across dusty roads. For a short time, the morning remains pleasant. Soon the heat will build. Soon workers will feel the weight of the sun on their backs. But not yet. The cooler hours are precious. Many Egyptian laborers learn to value them deeply. A farmer walking toward the fields understands this well. He carries simple tools over one shoulder. His sandals press into the dusty path. Years of labor have taught him to begin early whenever possible. The morning offers an opportunity. Tasks completed before midday are often easier than those attempted beneath the strongest sunlight. The fields lie beyond the village. Rows of grain stubble remain from previous harvests. Other sections contain growing crops. Irrigation channels wind through the landscape like narrow ribbons. Water glimmers softly within them. The farmer pauses for a moment. He studies the condition of the land. This habit has become second nature. Every field tells a story. The color of the soil. The height of plants. The moisture level. The signs of insects. The signs of growth. Careful observation helps determine the day's work. Nearby, another farmer arrives. Then another. The day begins collectively. People rarely work entirely alone. Neighbors assist neighbors. Families assist families. Knowledge moves through conversation and shared experience. A younger worker may learn by watching older hands. An experienced farmer may notice problems before others do. The wisdom of daily life passes quietly from person to person. Meanwhile, back in the village, the bread continues baking. The oven glows with warmth. The smell grows richer. The crust begins forming. Inside each loaf, moisture shifts and steam rises. Transformations continue. The waiting is almost over. A baker checks the loaves carefully. His eyes have performed this task thousands of times. Experience matters. Too little baking leaves bread unfinished. Too much baking wastes valuable food. Judgment comes through years of repetition. He studies color, texture, shape. The signs are familiar. Nearby, one of the children watches closely. The process seems almost magical. Last night there was only dough. Now something entirely different emerges. The child may not understand every step. That understanding will come later. For now there is curiosity, observation, memory forming quietly. Years from now, perhaps the child will stand beside another oven, repeating the same routines. Knowledge often begins this way. Not through lessons. Through presence. Through watching. Through living. The village gradually empties as workers leave for their daily tasks. The streets that seemed lively moments ago become calmer once again. Only certain groups remain. Older residents. Young children. Those whose work keeps them close to home. A potter begins his morning nearby. His workshop sits near the edge of the settlement. Clay waits beneath damp cloths. Finished vessels line shelves. Some are large storage jars. Some are small bowls. Some will carry grain. Others will hold water or oil. Every object begins as earth gathered from the land. The potter kneels beside his work. His hands press into cool clay. The sensation is familiar. Comforting, even. For years he has shaped vessels from the same material. Day after day. Season after season. The work requires patience. Clay cannot be rushed. Bread dough cannot be rushed. Crops cannot be rushed. The Nile cannot be rushed. Ancient Egyptian life is filled with processes that unfold according to their own pace. The potter begins turning his wheel. Slowly. Smoothly. The clay rises beneath his fingers. A simple form begins to appear. Not remarkable. Not grand. Yet useful. Utility matters. Everyday objects support everyday life. And everyday life forms the foundation of history. Far from the villages, larger settlements are also waking. Merchants open stalls. Laborers gather supplies. Boats move along the river carrying goods from one place to another. The Nile serves as a great pathway connecting communities. Its waters transport grain, stone, pottery, timber, and countless other necessities. A merchant standing on a riverbank watches the morning activity. Several boats drift nearby. Their sails hang gently in the light breeze. Workers load baskets and jars. Conversations pass back and forth. Trade never entirely stops. Egypt depends upon movement as much as cultivation. Goods travel. Information travels. People travel. Yet even busy merchants depend on bread. Before long, many of them will pause for a meal. A loaf carried from home. A piece shared among companions. A simple meal eaten beside water or beneath shade. Bread accompanies nearly every aspect of daily life. Back at the oven, the baker nods. The loaves are ready. One by one they emerge from the heat. Their surfaces are golden. Slight cracks mark the crust. Steam escapes into the morning air. The smell becomes irresistible. Warm grain. Toasted flour. Fresh bread. The family receives their loaves. The mother places them carefully onto a woven tray. The heat radiates upward. The bread feels alive with warmth. One child leans closer, breathing in the scent. Hunger awakens fully now. The day truly begins when food arrives. The family returns home carrying the bread. The village paths glow beneath strengthening sunlight. Birds dart between trees. A donkey pulls a small cart through the street. Somewhere nearby, a baby begins crying. Ordinary sounds fill the air. Nothing extraordinary happens. Yet life feels full. Rich in small details. Rich in routine. The family enters their home. The bread rests on a low surface. For a few moments nobody touches it. It is still too hot. Patience remains necessary. Even after all the waiting, there is a little more waiting to do. The children find this difficult. Fresh bread tempts them. The smell fills the room completely. The crust crackles softly as it cools. Time passes. Eventually the moment arrives. The mother breaks a loaf. Steam escapes. The interior appears soft and warm. Pieces are distributed. The family eats together. The first bites are simple. Satisfying. Familiar. Bread may not be luxurious. It may not be rare. Yet it provides comfort. Energy. Stability. For countless Egyptians, it forms the center of daily nourishment. Outside, the sun climbs higher. Heat slowly spreads across the landscape. Workers in fields begin feeling its presence. Fishermen on boats notice it. Builders notice it. Travelers notice it. The coolness of morning fades. Day takes hold. The father finishes eating and prepares for work. The fields await. Responsibilities await. Another long day stretches before him. He gathers tools. Adjusts a carrying strap. Steps outside. The sunlight is brighter now. The road ahead is familiar. He has walked it thousands of times. Beside him, other workers move toward their own destinations. Some head for fields. Some head for workshops. Some head for the river. Life spreads outward from the village like gentle ripples. The mother remains behind for now. Her responsibilities are different, yet no less demanding. Cleaning. Preparing later meals. Managing supplies. Caring for children. Countless tasks fill the hours ahead. Ancient households require constant attention. There is always something needing repair, cleaning, carrying, or organizing. Work takes many forms. All of it matters. As the morning continues, the empty bowl that held the dough rests quietly against the wall. Its task is complete for now. The cloth lies folded nearby. Flour dust remains on the work surface. Small traces of the night's labor remain visible. Yet before long, preparations for another loaf will begin. Bread is never a one-time effort. It is a cycle. One batch leads to another. One meal leads to another. One day leads to another. The rhythm continues endlessly. Outside, the Nile flows beneath the growing sun. Water glimmers against the light. Reeds sway gently near the shore. Boats move steadily across the river's surface. Life continues in every direction. And somewhere in the distance, another family is already mixing flour and water together, beginning a new bowl of dough that will wait patiently through another Egyptian night. The morning settles fully across the land. The sun climbs a little higher above the eastern horizon, spreading warm light across fields, villages, riverbanks, and dusty roads. Shadows begin to shorten. The cool comfort of dawn slowly fades beneath the growing strength of the day. The family's fresh bread rests on a woven tray. Several pieces have already been eaten. Crumbs remain on the floor near where the children sat. The smell of baking still lingers softly inside the house. It mixes with the scent of clay walls, woven reeds, stored grain, and the faint earthy smell carried in from outside. The empty dough bowl waits quietly against the wall. Its work is finished for now. Yet before the day ends, thoughts of tomorrow's bread will begin again. Bread is not something made once and forgotten. It is part of a continuous rhythm. A cycle that never truly stops. Much like the Nile itself. The father walks steadily toward the fields. His sandals leave shallow impressions in the dusty path. Other workers move alongside him. Some speak softly. Others save their energy and walk in silence. No one appears rushed. The pace of the morning feels measured. Steady. The path winds between cultivated land and irrigation channels. Water glimmers beneath the sunlight. Tiny ripples move across its surface. The channels require constant attention. Without care, mud can block the flow. Plants can spread into the water. Banks can weaken. The river provides life, but human effort helps guide that life where it is needed. The farmer reaches his section of land. He pauses for a moment. The fields stretch before him. The soil already feels warm beneath the morning sun. Birds search among the furrows. Insects hum quietly among growing plants. The work begins. Hands move. Tools lift. Earth shifts. The tasks are familiar. They have been performed so many times that the movements feel almost automatic. Yet the labor remains real. Every harvest depends upon countless hours like these. The grain that became yesterday's flour once grew in fields much like this one. Months earlier, workers planted it, then watered it, protected it, harvested it, stored it, ground it, mixed it, waited for it, baked it. The loaf eaten this morning carries the memory of many seasons and many hands. The connection is rarely spoken aloud. People simply understand it. Life depends upon cooperation between land, river, weather, animals, and people. No single element can succeed entirely alone. Back in the village, the mother begins her own work. The children help where they can. One carries a small basket. Another gathers loose pieces of firewood. Their contributions may seem small, yet every task matters. Households function because many people share responsibility. The sun shines through the doorway. Light moves slowly across the floor. Dust particles drift through the air. The house feels peaceful despite the steady activity. A storage jar stands open nearby. Inside rests grain saved for future use. The woman studies its contents carefully. Managing supplies requires attention. Food must last. Resources must be used wisely. The future always demands preparation. This evening there will be more dough. Tomorrow there will be more bread. And the day after that, perhaps another batch. The cycle continues. Near the river, fishermen begin hauling nets from the water. Their work is patient in its own way. The river does not always offer the same rewards. Some days bring plentiful catches. Some days do not. Experience teaches fishermen where to search. How to read currents. How to understand subtle changes in the water. A fisherman pulls steadily on a rope. Water drips from the net. The morning sun catches each droplet. Tiny flashes of light appear and disappear. The net emerges slowly. Fish shimmer inside. The catch is not enormous. But it is enough. Enough matters. Many Egyptian workers measure success not by abundance, but by sufficiency. Enough grain. enough fish, enough water, enough bread, enough to continue. A nearby boat drifts gently against the current. Its owner repairs a worn section of net while sitting in the shade of a simple canopy. His hands move with practiced precision. The repair is small. Yet neglecting small problems often leads to larger ones. Ancient life requires constant maintenance. Tools wear down. Clothing tears. Buildings crack. Boats need repairs. Everything requires care. The same attention that creates bread helps preserve countless other necessities. As the morning advances, heat begins gathering across the landscape. The air feels heavier. The sunlight grows brighter. Workers notice the change immediately. A farmer wipes sweat from his forehead. A builder adjusts his position to find a little shade. A merchant pauses beneath a shelter before continuing his journey. The Egyptian sun can be relentless. Many laborers learn to work steadily rather than quickly. Speed wastes energy. Steady effort often accomplishes more. In a nearby workshop, a scribe sits cross-legged beside a low writing surface. His work differs greatly from that of farmers and fishermen. Yet his days are also shaped by routine. A reed pen rests between his fingers. Sheets of papyrus lie nearby. Records must be maintained. Information must be preserved. Grain deliveries. Work assignments. Inventories. Transactions. The scribe bends carefully over the page. His hand moves slowly. Symbols appear one after another. The work requires concentration. Patience again. So much of Egypt rests upon patience. Even writing demands it. The scribe pauses occasionally to stretch stiff fingers. Then continues. Outside his workspace, the sounds of daily life drift through the air. Footsteps. Voices. Animals. The distant call of birds. The world continues moving around him. At home, the family prepares for the hottest part of the day. They understand what is coming. Everyone does. The sun rises higher. The shadows shrink. The heat spreads across walls, roads, and fields. Many activities become more difficult. People adjust their schedules accordingly. Some tasks are postponed until evening. Some workers seek temporary shelter. Others continue despite discomfort. Necessity often leaves little choice. Inside the mud brick house, the thick walls help resist the heat. The interior remains somewhat cooler than the world outside. The difference is noticeable. The mother pauses briefly near the doorway. She watches the village. A few people move along the paths carrying baskets or jars. Others remain indoors. The day seems slower now. The bright energy of morning softens beneath the growing warmth. Even animals appear less active. A dog stretches beneath a patch of shade. Goats gather near walls where sunlight cannot reach them. Birdsong becomes less frequent. The landscape settles into a quieter rhythm. The empty dough bowl remains where it rests. Hours ago it contained possibility. Now it contains only memory. Yet that memory is important. The bowl will soon serve again. It has likely done so hundreds of times already. Perhaps thousands. Many household objects remain in service for years. People care for them carefully. Replacing possessions is not always easy. Durability matters. A well-made bowl becomes a trusted companion in daily life. The same hands that mix today's bread will return to it this evening. Flour will be added once more. Water will be poured. Dough will be formed. Another night's waiting will begin. Far across the fields, Workers continue their labor beneath the strengthening sun. The farmer pauses to drink water. The cool liquid offers brief relief. He looks toward the Nile. Even from a distance, the river provides reassurance. Its presence shapes every aspect of life. The river is always there. Flowing. Moving. Enduring. Generations come and go. The Nile remains. His father worked fields beside the river. His grandfather likely did the same. Children now growing in the village may one day stand in these very places. The cycle continues. Just as bread continues. Just as seasons continue. Just as days continue. The farmer resumes work. His tools move through soil. Sweat gathers again. The morning edges toward midday. Above him, the sky appears vast and clear. Clouds are rare. The sun dominates everything. Meanwhile, within the village, the smell of fresh bread has mostly faded. New smells replace it. Cooking fires. Warm dust. River air. Life moves forward. No one spends long dwelling on the loaf baked earlier. It has become part of the day now. Part of the body. Part of the energy used for work. The transformation is complete. Yet another transformation already waits in the future. This evening, as sunlight softens and shadows lengthen, grain will once again become flour. Flour will once again become dough. And dough will once again spend the night resting quietly beneath cloth while families sleep beside the Nile. For now, however, the day continues beneath the ancient Egyptian sun, and the land settles into the slow, steady rhythm of another working morning. The morning gradually gives way to midday. The change happens slowly, almost unnoticed at first. The sunlight grows whiter. The shadows retreat closer to walls and trees. The breeze that drifted gently across the river during dawn becomes weaker. Heat settles over the land like a heavy blanket. Across the fields, workers feel it gathering around them. The farmer pauses again and lifts a hand to shade his eyes. The ground beneath his sandals feels warmer now. The soil releases the heat it has absorbed throughout the morning. Small insects move among the plants. Birds seek shelter where they can find it. Even the sounds of the countryside seem softer. The middle hours of the day often encourage stillness. Not complete silence. Just a slower pace. A quieter rhythm. The farmer continues working because there is work that must be done. The irrigation channels require attention. Plants need care. Every season brings responsibilities that cannot be ignored. Still, he moves steadily rather than quickly. Years of experience have taught him how to preserve energy. The sun will remain overhead for many hours. There is no advantage in fighting it. Nearby, another worker kneels beside a narrow water channel. His hands scoop away accumulated mud. The movement is repetitive. Simple. Necessary. The Nile provides life, but water must be guided carefully through the fields. Channels become blocked. Banks weaken. Plants grow where they should not. Maintenance never truly ends. Much of ancient life consists of small tasks repeated countless times. A channel cleared today may need attention again in the future. A loaf baked today will be gone by tomorrow. A floor swept this morning will gather dust again. Yet people continue performing these tasks because daily life depends upon them. The work itself becomes part of existence. Part of the rhythm of living. Back in the village, many people have retreated indoors. The mudbrick houses provide welcome relief from the growing heat. Their thick walls hold back some of the sun's intensity. Inside one such house, an elderly man rests on a woven mat, His working years are largely behind him now. His body carries the marks of a long life. His hands remain rough from decades of labor. His shoulders have slowly rounded with age. His knees ache during certain seasons. Yet his memory remains full of ordinary days. Thousands upon thousands of them. Days of planting. Days of harvesting. Days of fishing. Days of baking. Days of waiting. He closes his eyes and listens. The sounds around him are familiar. Children playing somewhere outside. A distant donkey. The rustle of wind moving across a roof. The faint murmur of voices from neighboring homes. The sounds have changed little over the years. One generation replaces another. Yet much remains the same. The Nile still flows. The grain still grows. The dough still rises during the night. Nearby, a young child sits beside a basket of grain. The child runs small fingers through the kernels. The texture feels interesting. Cool and smooth. The grain slip between tiny hands like flowing sand. For the child, these kernels are simply part of everyday life. Their importance is not yet fully understood. That understanding will come later. As the years pass. As responsibilities grow. As childhood slowly becomes adulthood. One day this child may kneel beside a grinding stone. One day these same hands may mix dough in a clay bowl. One day another child may watch and learn. Knowledge often moves quietly through generations. Without speeches. Without formal lessons. Simply through participation. Simply through living. Outside, the village streets appear nearly empty. The brightest part of the day has arrived. Dust rests undisturbed on the pathways. A few dogs sleep beneath narrow strips of shade. Goats gather beside walls. The heat encourages patience. People wait for cooler hours. A merchant traveling between settlements continues his journey despite the sun. His donkey walks steadily along the road. Bundles of goods hang from either side of the animal. The merchant's clothing protects him from the harsh light. His journey may take many days. Perhaps he carries pottery. Perhaps cloth. Perhaps dried fish or baskets. Trade connects distant communities along the Nile. Goods move slowly but continuously across Egypt. The merchant pauses beneath a tree. The shade is small but welcome. He drinks water from a simple container. Then reaches into a cloth bundle. Inside rests bread baked earlier. Perhaps baked that very morning. Perhaps from the day before. The loaf has traveled with him along the road. It requires no ceremony. No special preparation. It simply provides nourishment when needed. The merchant tears off a piece and eats quietly. Then another. The bread is familiar. Reliable. For countless travelers throughout Egyptian history, bread accompanied journeys across deserts, riverbanks, and distant settlements. A simple companion carried from home. Back at the family house, preparations for the evening seem very far away. The day still stretches ahead. Yet the mother already understands how quickly time moves. The sun will eventually descend. Shadows will lengthen. The evening meal will require preparation. Tomorrow's bread will require preparation. Life unfolds through constant cycles. One task follows another. The pause between them is often brief. She studies the grain supply again. Carefully. Thoughtfully. Years of experience have taught her the importance of planning ahead. Every handful matters. Every jar matters. Food security is not taken lightly. A household survives through careful management. Outside, beyond the village, The Nile continues its endless flow. The river seems almost indifferent to human schedules. It moves whether people are awake or asleep, whether fields prosper or struggle, whether children are born or elders pass away. The Nile simply continues. Steady. Persistent. Its waters reflect the bright midday sun. The surface sparkles so intensely that looking directly at it becomes difficult. Along the banks, reeds bend slightly in the warm air. A fisherman sits beneath a simple shelter woven from reeds. His morning work is finished for now. The fish he caught earlier rest in containers nearby. The hottest hours encourage rest whenever possible. He leans back and watches the river. No hurry. No urgency. Just observation. The same river his father watched. The same river his grandfather watched. The same river that nourished countless generations. History often moves through grand events. But daily life moves through moments like these. Quiet observation. Brief rest. A simple meal. A conversation shared beneath shade. These moments rarely appear in official records. Yet they form the greater part of human life. In another part of the village, a woman sits beside a grinding stone. Despite the heat, she continues working. The grain must become flour. The task cannot be postponed forever. She pushes the stone forward. Then back. Forward again. The movement is steady. Rhythmic. The sound is soft but constant. Stone against grain. Stone against grain. Hour after hour. The labor shapes her posture. Her shoulders. Her arms. Many Egyptian women spent enormous portions of their lives performing similar work. The flour produced today may become tomorrow's bread. Or the bread after that. The connection between effort and survival remains immediate. Every movement carries purpose. A fine dust of flour gathers around the grinding area. Some clings to her hands. Some settles on clothing. The smell of grain fills the air. It is not unpleasant. It is familiar. The smell of preparation. The smell of necessity. The smell of another future loaf beginning its journey. As afternoon slowly approaches, the sunlight shifts almost imperceptibly. The fierce brightness remains, yet the day has begun its long movement toward evening. Workers notice these changes instinctively. Years spent outdoors create a deep awareness of the sun's position. No clock is needed. The sky itself marks the passage of time. The farmer in the field glances upward. The sun tells him many things. How much work remains? How much daylight remains? How soon relief may arrive? His body feels tired now. Not exhausted. Just worn by effort. The kind of tiredness that becomes familiar over many years. The kind of tiredness that follows honest labor. He wipes sweat from his brow and continues. Nearby, water moves quietly through an irrigation channel. The sound is gentle. Almost soothing. A reminder of the river's constant presence. The Nile works alongside the people. Not in words. Not in thought. Simply through water flowing where it is needed. And somewhere back in the village, resting against a cool mud-brick wall, the empty clay bowl waits patiently for evening. Soon flour will return to it. Soon water will be added. Soon familiar hands will knead another batch of dough. And once again, as darkness settles over Egypt and families drift into sleep beside the river, the long quiet wait for bread to rise will begin anew. The afternoon unfolds slowly across the Nile Valley. The brightest heat of midday begins to ease, though the air remains warm. Sunlight still pours across the fields and village roofs, But there is a subtle change now. The day no longer feels as though it is climbing. It has reached its height and begun its gradual descent. For workers in the fields, this change is welcome. The farmer pauses beside an irrigation channel and straightens his back. His muscles feel heavy. Hours of labor have settled into his shoulders and legs. He looks across the land. The fields stretch outward beneath the afternoon sun. Some sections glow green with growing crops. Others show darker soil recently watered. Palm trees stand motionless in the distance. Beyond them, the Nile catches flashes of light as it winds through the landscape. The sight is familiar. He has seen it almost every day of his life. Yet familiar things often bring their own quiet comfort. The river is where it should be. The fields are where they should be. The village stands where it has always stood. There is reassurance in continuity. Nearby, another worker sits briefly beneath the shade of a tree. He unwraps a small cloth bundle. Inside rests a piece of bread baked earlier that morning. The loaf has cooled completely now. Its warmth is gone, but its purpose remains. He breaks off a piece and eats slowly. The bread is simple. There are no rich flavors. No special ingredients. Only grain, water, time, and labor. Yet it satisfies hunger. And satisfaction is often enough. The worker chews thoughtfully while watching dragonflies move above the water. The insects dart and hover in the sunlight. Small ripples spread across the channel below. The afternoon feels calm. Not silent, but calm. Back in the village, shadows have begun to lengthen slightly. The narrow streets that seemed deserted during midday show signs of life again. A few children play near a wall. Their laughter drifts through the warm air. An elderly woman sits outside her doorway, enjoying the movement of the breeze. A pair of goats wander slowly along a dusty path. The village awakens from its midday quietness. The mother steps outside carrying an empty water jar. The vessel rests comfortably against her hip. The journey to collect water is familiar. Like so many daily tasks, it has become part of the rhythm of her life. She walks along a narrow path toward a place where water can be gathered. Other women move in the same direction. Some carry jars. Others carry baskets. Conversations rise and fall softly. Nothing urgent. Nothing dramatic. Simple exchanges about families, crops, weather, and daily responsibilities. The subjects change little from one season to the next. Yet these conversations help bind communities together. The women know one another well. They share routines. They share concerns. They share the countless small experiences that fill ordinary lives. The path eventually reaches the riverbank. The Nile moves steadily beside them. The water appears calm, though the current continues its endless journey northward. Reeds sway gently at the edge of the shore. Birds move among them. The smell of damp earth rises from the riverbank. The woman kneels and fills her jar. The water glimmers briefly in the sunlight. Then disappears into the clay vessel. Another simple task completed. Another necessity prepared for. Many aspects of life in ancient Egypt revolve around preparation. Water collected before it is needed. Grain stored before hunger arrives. Dough mixed before dawn. Fuel gathered before darkness falls. People constantly think ahead. Not far ahead. Just enough. Tomorrow matters. The next meal matters. The coming season matters. The woman lifts the fill jar and begins the journey home. The weight presses against her arms. She is accustomed to it. Years of carrying water have strengthened muscles that daily life depends upon. As she walks, she passes a small group of workers repairing part of a mud brick wall. Recent weather and time have worn away sections of the structure. Now repairs are needed. The men press wet mud into damaged areas. Their hands move steadily. The work is slow. Yet it must be done. Buildings, like everything else, require care. A house ignored eventually weakens. A tool ignored eventually breaks. A field ignored eventually suffers. Life demands attention. Attention becomes habit. Habit becomes routine. Routine becomes the shape of daily existence. Back at the family house, the empty dough bowl still rests against the wall. Sunlight reaches it now. A bright patch of afternoon light stretches across the floor and touches its curved surface. The bowl has served this household faithfully through many seasons. Perhaps small scratches mark its interior. Perhaps tiny imperfections reveal years of use. Such marks are rarely considered important. Yet they tell quiet stories. Stories of meals prepared. Stories of hungry children fed. Stories of ordinary evenings beside the Nile. Soon the bowl will become busy once more. But for now it waits. The afternoon continues. Farther down the river, a large boat glides across the water. Its sail catches a favorable breeze. The crew works calmly. Some adjust ropes. Others watch the shoreline. Cargo rests securely inside the vessel. Grain. Pottery. Bundles of reeds. Perhaps many different goods. The river serves as Egypt's great pathway. Travel by water often proves easier than travel across land. Boats move steadily between settlements. Goods flow in both directions. The boat passes fishermen tending nets. The fishermen raise a hand in greeting. The sailors respond. Then both continue with their work. The river brings people together in countless small ways. As the sun begins sinking lower, the quality of light changes. The harsh brightness of midday softens. Colors become warmer. Shadows grow longer. Workers notice immediately. The afternoon has entered its later hours. The farmer in the field feels relief. The worst heat has passed. His body remains tired, but the air feels slightly more forgiving. He continues working for a while longer. There is always another task. Another section of field. Another repair. Another responsibility. Yet the approach of evening lifts the spirit. Rest is still distant, but it is coming. The knowledge alone provides comfort. A flock of birds rises suddenly from a patch of reeds near the river. Their wings catch the sunlight. For a moment they fill the sky. Then they disappear into the distance. The farmer watches them briefly. Then returns to his work. Across the village, cooking fires begin appearing one by one. Thin trails of smoke rise above rooftops. The smell of food slowly drifts through the streets. Children notice first. They always seem to notice. Evening meals are approaching. Families begin gathering once more. The day starts folding inward. Activities that spread people across fields, workshops, and riverbanks gradually draw them back toward home. The mother enters the house carrying the water she collected earlier. She places the jar carefully near the wall. Then she studies the grain supply. The evening's work is approaching. Tomorrow's bread has not yet been made. Soon it will be time. The thought is familiar. Expected. Just another part of the day. Outside, the sunlight continues softening. The sky slowly shifts toward gold. The Nile reflects bands of warm color. The village settles into a quieter mood. Not sleepy yet, but calmer. Workers begin returning. The father appears along the dusty path leading home. His pace is steady. His clothing bears traces of the day's labor. Dust clings to his sandals. His shoulders feel tired. Yet there is satisfaction in returning. Home waits ahead. Food waits ahead. Rest waits ahead. And somewhere inside the house, the clay bowl waits too. Waiting for flour. Waiting for water. Waiting for hands to begin another familiar ritual. The same ritual performed yesterday. The same ritual performed countless times before. As evening slowly settles over ancient Egypt, the cycle begins turning once more toward bread. And before long, beneath the fading light of the Nile Valley, another batch of dough will start its quiet journey into the night. The evening light settles gently across the Nile Valley. The sun hangs lower now, no longer fierce and commanding, but soft and golden. Its rays stretch across the river and fields, painting long shadows behind palm trees and mudbrick walls. The heat of the day slowly releases its grip. Workers returning home feel the difference immediately. The air seems easier to breathe. The light seems kinder. The village begins gathering itself together once more. Throughout the day, people have been scattered across fields, workshops, riverbanks, and roads. Now they gradually flow back toward their homes like small streams returning to a larger river. The father walks through the village gate path carrying his tools. His body aches in familiar ways. His feet are dusty. His shoulders feel heavy. Yet the sight of home brings comfort. The simple house waiting ahead represents something precious. Rest. Food. Family. A brief pause before tomorrow begins. Children run through the narrow streets. Some chase one another through patches of fading sunlight. Others help carry small bundles of firewood gathered during the afternoon. Their energy seems endless. Unlike the adults, they do not yet carry years of labor in their bones. For them, evening often feels playful. For older people, it often feels peaceful. The mother stands outside the doorway for a moment. She watches the changing sky. Above the western horizon, the sunlight glows deep gold. The Nile reflects streaks of copper and amber. Birds cross overhead on their way toward evening resting places. The entire landscape seems to slow. Not because work disappears, but because the day itself is growing tired. Inside the house, the clay bowl still waits near the wall. Soon it will no longer be empty. Soon the familiar routine will begin again. The mother steps inside and reaches toward a storage jar. Her movements are calm, practiced, unhurried. She has repeated these actions thousands of times. The lid is removed. Grain waits inside. The kernels slide softly into a basket. Their faint rustling sound fills the room. Outside, the father sits briefly near the doorway. For a few moments he does nothing. No digging. No lifting. No carrying. Only resting. The pause feels valuable. The village itself seems to share this feeling. Voices drip through the evening air. Neighbors speak with one another. Someone discusses a section of damaged irrigation channel. Another mentions a fishing catch from earlier in the day. An elderly man recalls weather from previous years. The conversations move slowly. No one appears rushed. The sun continues sinking. There is still work to do, but there is also time to breathe. The grain soon reaches the grinding stone. The mother kneels beside it. The familiar labor begins. Forward. Back. Forward again. The sound of stone against grain fills the room. Soft, steady, rhythmic. The movement has become part of her life. Part of her memory. Part of her identity. Many women throughout ancient Egypt spent enormous portions of their lives performing this same task. Year after year. The work shaped muscles. Shaped routines. Shaped entire households. The grain gradually becomes flour. Fine dust gathers on her hands. Tiny particles cling to her clothing. The smell of fresh grain fills the air once more. The scent is comforting. Tomorrow's bread is already beginning to take shape. Outside, the village grows quieter. Children gradually return home. Cooking fires burn steadily. The smell of evening meals drifts through the streets. Smoke rises gently into the darkening sky. A dog barks somewhere in the distance. Then silence returns. Near the river, fishermen guide their boats toward shore. The day's work is ending. Nets are gathered. Equipment is organized. Fish are sorted and stored. The river glows beneath the last light of the sun. Its surface seems almost magical. Bands of gold ripple across the water. The fishermen move calmly. There is no need to hurry now. The day is nearly finished. One man pauses beside his boat and looks toward the village. Small trails of smoke rise above rooftops. The sight feels familiar. Comforting. Home is waiting there too. Farther down the river, larger boats continue their journeys. Some travel toward distant settlements. Others move toward towns where merchants exchange goods. Yet even aboard these vessels, evening changes the mood. Voices soften. Movements slow. People begin thinking about food and rest. The entire land seems to prepare for night. Back inside the house, the flour is ready. The mother places it carefully into the clay bowl. The bowl finally returns to its purpose. Hours ago it sat empty. Now it begins another cycle. Water is added. Not too much. Not too little. Years of experience guide every movement. The mixture slowly comes together. Flour and water become something new. Her hands press gently into the mixture. The dough begins to form. At first it feels rough. Uneven. Then smoother. More elastic. More alive beneath her fingers. The father watches for a moment while eating part of the evening meal. The sight is ordinary. Yet it is also deeply important. This dough represents tomorrow. Tomorrow's breakfast. Tomorrow's strength. Tomorrow's work. The children watch briefly as well. One of them asks a question. The mother answers softly. Perhaps explaining when the dough will be ready. Perhaps describing how long it must rest. Such knowledge passes naturally between generations. No formal lesson is required. Children learn because they live beside the process. Every evening becomes a classroom. Every loaf becomes a lesson. The sky outside deepens toward orange and purple. The sun touches the horizon. Palm trees appear as dark silhouettes against the fading light. Bird calls grow less frequent. The day is slipping away. The mother continues kneading. Press. Fold. Turn. Press again. The rhythm is almost meditative. Her hands know exactly what to do. Years of repetition have made the movements instinctive. Eventually the dough reaches the proper texture. Smooth. Soft. Ready. She pauses and studies it. The day's labor has produced another promising batch. The bowl rests on a low surface. The dough settles inside. For a moment everything is still. Then the cloth is placed gently over the top. The familiar covering returns. The waiting begins again. The dough has entered its quiet phase. Nothing more can be rushed. Nothing more can be forced. Time must do its work. Outside, the final edge of the sun disappears. The village enters twilight. The sky remains bright for a while longer, but the day itself has ended. Workers finish their meals. Families gather together. Stories are exchanged. Children become sleepy. The temperature begins falling little by little. Relief spreads through the air. The Nile darkens beneath the evening sky. Its waters reflect the first emerging stars. A breeze moves softly through the reeds. The sounds of daytime fade. One by one. Slowly. Naturally. Inside the house, the family settles into the gentle routines of evening. The father stretches tired muscles. The children yawn. The mother tidies the remaining tools and containers. The dough rests quietly beneath its cloth. Already the transformation has begun. Tiny changes unfold within the bowl. Invisible. Silent. Patient. The same patient process that unfolded last night. And the night before that. And countless nights before. Outside, darkness deepens across ancient Egypt. The stars multiply overhead. The river continues flowing through the shadows. Villages become islands of faint light surrounded by vast stretches of darkness. People retreat indoors. Doors close. Voices soften. Sleep approaches. And within a humble mud brick house beside the Nile, tomorrow's bread begins another long, peaceful night of waiting. Night settles gently over the village once again. The last traces of twilight disappear beyond the western horizon, and a quiet darkness spreads across the Nile Valley. One by one, the sounds of the day become softer. The steady rhythm of work gives way to the slower rhythm of rest. The air feels different now. The heavy warmth that filled the afternoon has eased. A cool breeze drifts across the river and slips between clusters of reeds before wandering through the narrow village streets. It carries the smell of damp earth, cooling stone, and the faint smoke from cooking fires that are slowly fading into glowing embers. The village seems to breathe more slowly. Inside the family's house, the evening meal has come to an end. The woven tray that held the fresh bread now carries only a few small pieces. Tiny crumbs remain scattered across the floor where the children sat together earlier. The smell of baked grain still lingers in the room, blending with the scent of clay walls and the fresh dough resting quietly beneath its cloth. The mother gathers the simple dishes. Nothing is wasted. Even the smallest remaining piece of bread is carefully saved. Food represents many days of labor. The grain began as a tiny seed. It grew beneath the Egyptian sun. It drank water from the Nile. It was harvested by tired hands. Ground into flour. Mixed into dough. Patiently waited upon. Finally baked. Every crumb carries that long journey. The father sits quietly near the doorway. Outside, the stars begin appearing one after another. He watches them without speaking. Perhaps he has looked at this same sky thousands of evenings before. Perhaps his father once sat in this very place, watching these same stars. The heavens change slowly. So slowly that generations often feel as though they remain unchanged. The stars become familiar companions to those who rise early and work until evening. Farmers know them. Boatmen know them. Travelers know them. Night after night, they appear above Egypt with quiet certainty. The children begin preparing for sleep. One folds a woven mat. Another curls beneath a light linen covering. The excitement of the day has faded. Their voices grow softer. Yawns become more frequent. Even children cannot resist the gentle pull of sleep after a day filled with movement. The youngest child glances once more toward the bowl of dough. The cloth hides everything beneath it. Nothing seems to be happening. Yet the child remembers yesterday morning. The dough had grown. It had become bread. Tomorrow it will happen again. There is comfort in knowing what tomorrow is likely to bring. Ancient life often depended upon reliable routines. The seasons changed. The river rose and fell. The grain ripened. The dough rested. The bread baked. The repetition offered reassurance. Outside, the narrow village paths are nearly empty. A few neighbors exchange quiet words before returning indoors. A man secures the gate of a small animal enclosure. Goats settle close together. A donkey lowers its head and closes tired eyes. The animals have followed the same sun as the people. Their day has also ended. A dog circles twice before lying down beside a doorway. Soon it too is asleep. The village becomes still. Not completely silent. Silence rarely exists in nature. Instead there is a gentle collection of small sounds. The whisper of wind through palm leaves. The distant movement of river water. The chirping of night insects hidden among the reeds. An occasional splash somewhere along the riverbank. These sounds belong to the night. They do not disturb it. They complete it. Inside the house, the mother checks the dough one final time. She does not uncover it. There is no need. She simply rests a hand lightly on the cloth. Everything feels as it should. The bowl sits safely away from drafts. The room holds the warmth gathered during the day. The dough will spend the night here, quietly changing while everyone sleeps. She smiles almost without thinking. Not from excitement. Only from quiet satisfaction. Tomorrow's work has already begun. Now time will take over. She blows gently across the small oil lamp. The flame flickers. It grows smaller. Then disappears. Darkness fills the room. Only faint moonlight enters through a small opening high in the wall. The shapes of storage jars become soft shadows. The wooden stool fades into darkness. The bowl itself becomes little more than a rounded silhouette. Yet beneath the cloth, the dough continues its invisible work. Outside, the Nile reflects the moon. Its surface shines like polished stone. The current never pauses. It continues its journey through the darkness just as it did during the day. Boats tied along the shore rise and fall gently with the water. Their ropes creak softly. A fisherman sleeping nearby hears the familiar sounds without waking. Years beside the river have made these sounds part of his dreams. Farther downstream, another village settles into sleep. Its houses resemble those in this one. Its people have followed similar routines. Many of them have also mixed dough this evening. Many bowls now rest beneath cloths. Across Egypt, countless households wait together without knowing it. Thousands of quiet kitchens. Thousands of clay bowls. Thousands of loaves beginning their slow journey toward tomorrow. It is a shared rhythm stretching along the river from one settlement to the next. No messenger announces it. No official records it. Yet it happens every evening. The moon climbs higher into the sky. Its pale light reaches the flat rooftops of the village. The mud-brick walls glow softly beneath its gentle brightness. Palm trees cast delicate shadows across the dusty ground. The air smells cooler now. The desert beyond the fertile fields releases the heat it gathered during the day. The breeze carries that changing temperature across the land. Inside the house, everyone sleeps. The father dreams quietly after another long day in the fields. His hands rest peacefully. Tomorrow they will once again grip wooden tools, lift baskets, and shape the soil. For now they remain still. The mother's breathing is slow and even. Her hands, which spent so many hours grinding grain and kneading dough, finally rest. The muscles in her arms slowly relax. Tomorrow those same hands will uncover the bowl. They will shape the risen dough. They will carry loaves toward the oven. But tonight they ask for nothing except rest. The children sleep deeply. Their dreams drift through places no historian will ever record. Perhaps they dream of running beside the river. Perhaps they dream of birds crossing the sky. Perhaps they dream of warm bread fresh from the oven. Dreams belong only to the dreamer. Time carries them away before morning. The house grows quieter still. Outside, the stars continue their slow passage across the heavens. Ancient Egyptians often looked upward with wonder, seeing familiar patterns that returned with dependable regularity. The sky, like the river, offered a sense of order. The world moved according to rhythms larger than any single person. Days became nights. Nights became mornings. Floods became harvests. Grain became flour. Flour became dough. Dough became bread. And bread became strength for another day. The hours pass gently. Moonlight shifts across the floor. The patch of silver light slowly moves closer to the clay bowl. Its rounded edge catches a faint glow before slipping back into shadow. No one notices. Everyone sleeps. Only the dough continues its patient transformation. Tiny bubbles form within it. Almost too small to imagine. The surface rises ever so slightly. The cloth lifts by the smallest measure. Nothing dramatic. Nothing hurried. Just quiet change unfolding in perfect silence. Beyond the village, the Nile flows beneath the moon exactly as it has for countless generations. Its waters carry reflections of stars that seem almost close enough to touch. The river whispers softly against its banks. Reeds sway. Fish move beneath the surface. The night continues. And in a humble mud-brick home, tomorrow's bread slowly awakens long before the people who will one day share it. The deepest hours of the night arrive with almost no sound at all. The village rests beneath a sky filled with countless stars. The moon has climbed high above the Nile, bathing the rooftops in pale silver light. The warm colors of evening have faded completely. Now everything seems softer, quieter, and wrapped in a gentle stillness. The river continues to move. It never sleeps. Its waters glide steadily through the darkness, brushing against reeds that sway with the faintest breeze. Along the muddy banks, tiny ripples spread outward whenever a fish rises near the surface before disappearing once again into the quiet current. The air has become pleasantly cool. Not cold. Just cool enough that the warmth stored inside the mud-brick walls feels comforting rather than heavy. Inside the family's home, every woven mat is occupied. The father sleeps deeply after another day in the fields. His breathing is slow and even. His hands, so busy beneath the sun, now lie open and relaxed beside him. The calluses that cover his palms tell a story no scroll has ever written. Each rough place came from lifting baskets of grain, from repairing irrigation channels, from guiding wooden tools through stubborn soil, from carrying harvests beneath the bright Egyptian sky. Every mark on his hands speaks quietly of ordinary work. The mother rests nearby. Her shoulders have finally relaxed after a day that began before sunrise and ended only after tomorrow's dough had been prepared. Her hands, dusted with flour only a few hours earlier, now rest peacefully upon the woven mat, If someone could watch her dreams, perhaps they would see familiar places. The village, the river, the grinding stone, the oven. Or perhaps dreams leave behind the routines of the day and wander somewhere entirely different. No one can know. Dreams leave no footprints. The children remain asleep. One has rolled slightly toward the center of the room. Another hugs a folded piece of cloth without realizing it. Children often sleep with complete trust. Their worries are few. The house itself feels safe. The thick walls stand quietly around them. The roof shelters them from the night. The village surrounds them with familiar neighbors. Outside, a single owl calls from somewhere among the palm trees. Its voice drifts across the sleeping settlement before fading into silence once more. The sound is neither frightening nor lonely. It simply belongs to the night. Near the doorway, the clay bowl waits beneath its cloth. No lamp burns beside it. No one watches over it. The dough asks for no attention. Only time. Time has become one of the quiet workers inside the house. Invisible. Patient. Faithful. Hour by hour, it continues its gentle task. The dough slowly expands. Tiny pockets of air form within it. The surface grows softer. Its shape changes so gradually that even if someone stayed awake staring at it, the movement would be almost impossible to notice. This kind of change happens beneath the edge of human awareness. Ancient people understood this well, even if they explained it differently. They knew that some work belonged to human hands. Other work belonged to nature. The river flowed on its own. Seeds sprouted on their own. The moon crossed the sky on its own. The dough rose on its own. People prepared the beginning. Then they waited. Waiting was never empty. Waiting was part of the work itself. Far beyond the village, another small settlement lies beside a bend in the Nile. Its homes resemble these ones. Its people have followed nearly the same routines. Their ovens cooled hours ago. Their children sleep. Their clay bowls also rest beneath linen cloths. Across the length of Egypt, countless families now share this same quiet moment without ever meeting one another. The same moon shines above them. The same river flows beside them. The same patient dough rises in silent rooms. History often speaks of mighty rulers. It remembers towering temples and carefully carved statues. Yet tonight, those grand places are quiet as well. Within palace kitchens, bread dough also rests. Within humble homes, bread dough rests. The difference between rich and poor may be seen in many things. But both wait for the dough. Both depend upon grain. Both greet the morning with bread. The night gently joins every household together. The moonlight slips through a small opening near the roof. A narrow beam falls across the floor. It reaches the woven basket that held today's bread. Only a few crumbs remain inside. Tomorrow it will carry another loaf. The basket itself has served the family for many years. Its woven reeds have darkened with age. Some strands have loosened slightly. Yet it remains useful. Ancient households treasured useful things. A repaired basket often mattered more than a beautiful one. A sturdy bowl mattered more than a finely decorated one. Objects earned respect through faithful service. The clay bowl beside the wall is much the same. Its smooth surface reflects only the faintest trace of moonlight. Small scratches mark its inside. Perhaps one tiny chip rests along the rim. These imperfections tell of years spent mixing countless batches of dough. The bowl has quietly witnessed the passing of childhoods. It has seen babies become children. Children become adults. Adults grow old. Through every season, it continued holding flower and water together. Outside, the breeze becomes a little stronger for a few moments. Palm fronds whisper softly overhead. Loose grains of dust drift across the empty paths between houses. A reed mat hanging outside one doorway stirs gently. Then the breeze passes. Stillness returns. The village seems suspended between yesterday and tomorrow. Between one loaf and the next. The stars slowly continue their journey across the heavens. Ancient people often measured the passing of the night by watching those familiar lights. Before clocks. Before bells. The sky itself became a quiet companion. The movement was slow enough to encourage patience. No star hurried toward the horizon. No constellation rushed across the darkness. Everything unfolded in its own time. The same quiet pace could be found almost everywhere in Egyptian life. A pot slowly drying after being shaped. A mud brick hardening beneath the sun. A woven mat growing strand by strand. A child learning through years of observation. A loaf rising during the night. Nothing valuable appeared all at once. Much of life grew through steady repetition. The father turns slightly in his sleep. For a brief moment he wakes without opening his eyes. He hears the distant sound of water. The familiar whisper of the Nile reaches the house. It has accompanied nearly every night of his life. Without fully waking, he settles once more into sleep. The river's voice is as ordinary to him as breathing. Nearby, the mother dreams peacefully. Tomorrow already waits beside her in the clay bowl. Though she sleeps, part of her mind trusts the dough. She knows it will be ready. She has seen this happen hundreds of times. Perhaps thousands. Trust grows from repetition. The dough has never needed to be watched every moment. Only prepared well. Then left alone. Patience becomes confidence. Confidence becomes tradition. Across the village, another woman wakes briefly to comfort a restless child. She speaks softly. Only a whisper. The child soon settles again. The house returns to silence. Elsewhere, an elderly man wakes and steps quietly outside. The night air feels pleasant upon his face. He looks toward the river. Moonlight dances upon the water. For a few minutes he simply stands there. No destination. No task. Only quiet observation. The village sleeps behind him. The Nile flows before him. The stars stretch endlessly overhead. Moments like this rarely enter written history. Yet they have always belonged to human life. Simple moments. Peaceful moments. Moments when nothing needs to be accomplished. After a while, he returns indoors. The door closes softly. Darkness settles once more around the house. Inside the family's home, the cloth covering the dough rises ever so slightly. The change is almost impossible to see. Yet it is there. Morning is drawing closer, though it remains hidden beyond the eastern horizon. There are still many quiet hours before sunrise. Many peaceful moments before sandals touch cool floors again. Before grinding stones begin their familiar rhythm. Before ovens awaken with glowing fire. Before warm bread fills the village with its comforting aroma once more. For now, ancient Egypt sleeps beneath the stars. The Nile whispers through the darkness. The cool breeze wanders gently among the palms. And beneath a simple linen cloth inside a humble clay bowl, tomorrow's bread continues its slow, silent journey toward another peaceful dawn. The quiet hours before dawn are often the gentlest of all. The night has settled deeply over the Nile Valley, yet somewhere beyond the eastern horizon, morning has already begun its long approach. No one in the village can see it yet. The darkness still feels complete. The stars remain bright, and the moon hangs peacefully above the river. Everything seems suspended in a moment that could last forever. The Nile glides through the landscape with endless patience. Its waters carry no sign that another day is waiting. The current moves just as it did yesterday. Just as it will tomorrow. The river asks for nothing. It simply continues. Along its banks, tall reeds lean together as a light breeze slips between them. Their quiet rustling rises and falls like a soft whisper. Small insects sing hidden among the stems, while somewhere farther out on the water, a fish breaks the surface for the briefest instant. A circle of ripples spreads outward. Then the river becomes smooth again. Inside the family's home, darkness still fills the room. The mud-brick walls have released much of the warmth gathered during the day. The air now feels pleasantly cool. The woven mats remain still. The father sleeps soundly. His breathing follows an easy rhythm, rising and falling like the river itself. Tomorrow will ask much of him. The fields will once again need careful attention. Water channels will need inspection. Young plants will need watching. The soil will demand strong hands. But none of those tasks belong to this moment. For now, his body simply rests. Years of labor have taught him the value of sleep. Rest is not laziness. Rest is preparation. The mother remains asleep beside the clay bowl. Even in sleep, she lies not far from tomorrow's bread. The dough has become part of the quiet company of the night. It asks for no words. No effort. Only trust. Many generations before her have trusted the same slow process. Mothers. Grandmothers. Great-grandmothers. Women whose names have disappeared into history. Their voices are gone. Their footsteps have faded from the dusty roads. Yet their hands once moved through flour exactly as hers did only a few hours ago. They mixed. They kneaded. They covered the bowl. Then they slept. Somewhere, perhaps centuries earlier, another child watched another mother perform these same familiar movements. Knowledge passed gently from one pair of hands to another. Not written upon papyrus. Not carved into stone. Simply remembered. Simply repeated. The youngest child shifts slightly beneath a linen covering. A sleepy sigh escapes before silence returns. Children often sleep without concern for tomorrow. Adults think about grain supplies. Water jars. Harvests. Repairs. Children dream of simpler things. Perhaps the warmth of fresh bread. Perhaps chasing birds beside the river. Perhaps floating leaves carried gently by the current. Outside, the village remains wrapped in darkness. The narrow paths lie empty. During daylight they welcome countless footsteps. Farmers. Merchants. Builders. Children. Goats. Donkeys pulling small loads. Now the paths belong only to moonlight. Dust rests undisturbed across their surface. A single palm leaf drifts gently to the ground. Its soft landing makes almost no sound at all. Nearby, the communal oven stands quietly beneath the stars. Its fire has long since faded. The stones have cooled. Only a faint smell of yesterday's baking lingers around it. Tomorrow, before long, smoke will rise again. Families will gather. Fresh loaves will emerge from the heat. The oven waits without impatience. It understands the rhythm of the village. It has welcomed thousands of mornings. Perhaps tens of thousands of loaves. Each one ordinary. Each one necessary. Farther along the river, a fisherman sleeps beside his small boat. His net has been carefully folded. His oars rest nearby. The river rocks the boat so gently that it almost seems to breathe. The fisherman knows he must wake before sunrise. The earliest hours often bring the calmest water. Fish move differently before the heat of the day. Experience has taught him this. His father likely taught him. And perhaps his father's father before that. Just as bread making follows traditions, so does fishing. Ancient Egypt is filled with quiet knowledge carried through generations. A potter understands clay. A carpenter understands wood. A weaver understands linen. A farmer understands soil. A baker understands dough. Not because someone explained every detail. Because life itself became the teacher. Within the clay bowl, the dough continues changing. The transformation remains invisible. If someone gently lifted the cloth now, they would notice the dough has grown fuller. Its rounded surface presses more confidently against the air around it. Tiny bubbles rest beneath the smooth skin of the dough. Each one has appeared slowly. Without noise. Without hurry. The bowl seems almost alive with quiet purpose. The linen cloth covering it rises just enough to hint at what is happening beneath. The mother does not need to see it. She already knows. Morning will reveal the rest. Above the village, the stars continue their patient journey. Some appear brighter than others. Their reflections shimmer faintly upon the Nile. The river seems to carry the sky upon its surface. Water and stars become almost impossible to separate. The same sight has greeted countless Egyptian nights. A young shepherd may have admired it centuries ago. An old fisherman may have watched it from his boat. A child unable to sleep may have looked upward in quiet wonder. The heavens belong to everyone. They ask for nothing. They simply shine. The breeze changes direction. It moves from the river toward the village. As it passes between the houses, it carries the fresh scent of water and reeds into every narrow lane. The mud brick walls cool a little more. The roofs release the last warmth stored from the day. The entire settlement seems to exhale. Somewhere beyond the houses, a pair of donkeys sleep standing close together. Occasionally one flicks an ear at an insect. Then becomes still again. Nearby, goats lie curled upon the ground. Their breathing is gentle. Animals, too, follow the rhythm of the sun. Day for grazing. Night for rest. Across the village, every household holds its own quiet story. An elderly couple sleeps beneath a patched linen covering. A young mother comforts an infant before both drift back into sleep. A craftsman dreams beside tools carefully arranged for tomorrow's work. Another family has also prepared dough before bedtime. Another clay bowl waits beneath another cloth. Although each household is separate, the routines are shared. The same river nourishes them. The same grain fills their jars. The same ovens warm their bread. The same stars watch over them. The night draws onward. Slowly. Patiently. The eastern horizon remains dark, though the smallest change has already begun beyond sight. Morning is making its careful journey toward the Nile. Not quickly. Never quickly. Ancient mornings seem to arrive with remarkable gentleness. The first pale light will creep across the desert. Palm trees will slowly emerge from darkness. Birds will offer their earliest songs. The village will awaken one household at a time. Sandals will touch cool floors. Doors will open. Water jars will be lifted. Grinding stones will begin their steady song once more. And inside this humble home, the mother will lift the linen cloth from the clay bowl. She will smile quietly at the risen dough. Another ordinary miracle completed without fanfare. Another loaf waiting to become another day's nourishment. But for now, none of that has happened. The village remains asleep. The river continues its endless conversation with the shore. The stars watch silently from above. And beneath a simple piece of linen, tomorrow's bread continues to rise, carrying with it the quiet promise of another peaceful morning beside the ancient Nile. A faint promise of morning begins far beyond the eastern desert. No one in the village notices it yet. The stars still seem bright above the Nile. The moon continues its slow journey across the sky. The cool air of the night lingers among the reeds and mud-brick walls, wrapping the village in a quiet comfort that belongs only to these last hours before dawn. The world feels suspended between sleep and waking. The Nile flows as steadily as ever. Its gentle current brushes against the riverbank with a soft whisper that has never truly stopped. Long before this family was born, the river made the same sound. Long after they are gone, it will continue its endless conversation with the shore. A thin mist gathers above parts of the water. It rises so gently that it almost seems to float without moving. The moonlight catches its edges, giving it the appearance of a pale veil drifting across the surface of the river. Nearby, clusters of papyrus reeds stand quietly. Small insects rest upon their stems. Occasionally, a bird stirs in its sleep, ruffling its feathers before becoming still once more. The riverbank itself appears peaceful. Footprints left during yesterday's work remain pressed into the damp earth. The marks of sandals. The narrow impressions left by baskets carried toward the water. The delicate tracks of birds searching for food. Each footprint tells a story for a little while. Then wind, water, and time slowly erase it. So much of ordinary life disappears this way. A conversation. A smile. A loaf of bread shared between family members. The careful kneading of dough. The laughter of children. Most of it leaves no lasting record. Yet these quiet moments are what truly fill a lifetime. Inside the family's home, darkness still covers every corner. The clay bowl rests against the wall exactly where it was placed the evening before. The linen cloth remains gently draped over the dough. Nothing appears different from a distance. Yet beneath the cloth, everything has changed. The dough has continued its slow work throughout the night. It has become lighter, softer, fuller. Tiny pockets of air now fill its interior. The rounded surface presses gently upward. It has almost reached the moment the mother hoped for. It has done its work faithfully. Without complaint. Without hurry. Nearby, the father sleeps peacefully. His breathing matches the slow rhythm of the quiet room. The long hours spent beneath the sun have earned him deep rest. The muscles in his arms have relaxed. His rough hands lie open beside him. Tomorrow, those same hands will once again lift tools, guide water through fields, and carry the weight of another day's labor. But not yet. The night still belongs to sleep. The mother shifts slightly beneath her linen covering. Not fully awake. Only drifting closer to morning. Years of rising before sunrise have given her a quiet awareness of time. Even while sleeping, her body seems to understand that dawn is approaching. There is comfort in familiar routines. The same sequence has unfolded through countless mornings. Wake. Check the dough. Prepare the oven. Shape the loaves. Begin another day. The repetition never feels strange. Instead, it offers stability. Each familiar task connects one day to the next. The youngest child remains curled tightly beneath a woven blanket. A small hand rests against a folded piece of cloth. The child dreams peacefully. Perhaps of chasing birds along the riverbank. Perhaps of warm bread still steaming from the oven. Perhaps of nothing that words could ever describe. Dreams come and go like ripples upon the Nile. They appear. They fade. They leave only quiet feelings behind. Outside, the village paths remain empty. The dust has settled completely. No sandals disturb its surface. No carts creak along the narrow lanes. The silence feels gentle rather than lonely. Even the houses seem to sleep. Their thick mud brick walls hold the coolness of the night. The flat rooftops glow softly beneath the moon. Somewhere nearby, an old date palm sways almost imperceptibly in the breeze. Its long leaves brush against one another with a dry, whispering sound. The breeze carries the faint scent of river water through the village. It slips beneath doorways, moves across courtyards, brushes gently against the linen cloth covering the bowl. The cloth barely stirs, then becomes still again. Farther down the river, a watchman sits quietly outside a grain storehouse. His task is simple: remain awake while others sleep. He leans against the wall and watches the stars. The night asks very little of him. Only patience. He listens to distant sounds carried across the water. The occasional splash of a fish. The rustle of reeds. A faraway owl calling once before silence returns. These sounds become companions during the long hours. He has heard them many nights before. He will hear them many nights again. The grain resting inside the storehouse waits as patiently as the dough inside the family's home. Thousands upon thousands of kernels lie together in woven sacks. Each one holds the possibility of another loaf. Another meal. Another day of strength for someone working beneath the Egyptian sun. Grain spends much of its existence waiting. Waiting in the field. Waiting in storage. Waiting to become flour. Waiting to become dough. Waiting to become bread. Patience surrounds every stage of its journey. Across the village, another household also sleeps beside a bowl of rising dough. An elderly woman prepared it carefully before sunset. Her hands have grown slower with age. Yet they still remember every movement. She no longer kneads as quickly as she once did. She no longer grinds grain for as many hours. Still, experience guides her. Her dough rises quietly through the night just as faithfully as it did when she was young. Time changes people. Yet some routines remain constant. A little farther away, a young couple sleeps in their first home together. Their household is new. Many objects inside still appear fresh. Their storage jars are not yet worn smooth from years of use. Their grinding stone carries fewer marks. Their clay bowl has mixed only a handful of batches of dough. Even so, they follow the same rhythm as their parents. The same flour. The same water. The same waiting. The same hope that morning will bring a well-risen loaf. The village is made not only of buildings but of repeating lives. Children become adults. Adults become elders. Elders leave behind quiet knowledge. The rhythm continues without interruption. Above them all, the stars slowly begin to fade. Not because they disappear. Because another light is slowly approaching. The eastern horizon changes by the smallest measure. A deep black sky softens into dark blue. Only someone watching very carefully would notice. The village still sleeps. The birds have not yet begun their morning songs. The fishermen remain beneath their coverings. The farmers still dream of fields. The ovens remain cold. Yet morning is patiently making its way toward every doorway. Inside the family's home, the dough has nearly reached its fullest rise. The linen cloth now rests lightly upon its rounded surface. If the mother were to lift it this very moment, she would find exactly what she hoped for the evening before. A bowl filled with promise. A bowl prepared by careful hands. A bowl that has quietly transformed itself through the long hours of darkness. Soon those hands will return. Soon flour will dust the work surface once again. Soon gentle fingers will shape soft loaves. Soon warm bread will fill the village with its comforting aroma. But those moments remain just ahead. For now, the room is peaceful. The family sleeps. The river flows. The breeze moves softly through the reeds. And the quiet heart of ancient Egypt continues beating in its slow, patient rhythm, one peaceful night and one humble loaf at a time. The first light of dawn finally reaches the banks of the Nile. It arrives without hurry. The eastern sky slowly fills with pale shades of blue and soft gold, and the stars quietly fade into the growing morning. One by one, the village begins to wake, just as it has for countless mornings before, and just as it will for countless mornings yet to come. The river continues its endless journey. Its gentle waters carry the reflection of the newborn sun, gliding past reeds that sway in the cool breeze. Birds greet the day with quiet songs, and the first footsteps appear once more upon the dusty paths between the mud-brick homes. Inside the little house, the mother opens her eyes. For a moment, she simply listens. The soft breathing of her family. The distant murmur of the Nile. The peaceful silence that still lingers before another day begins. Then she rises. Her feet touch the cool floor. She walks slowly toward the clay bowl resting where she left it the evening before. With careful hands, she lifts the linen cloth. The dough has risen beautifully. Full. Soft. Ready. A small, quiet smile crosses her face. No words are needed. The bowl has kept its promise. Soon the dough will become warm loaves, and those loaves will become strength for another day's work beneath the Egyptian sun. The father will return to the fields. The fishermen will guide their boats onto the quiet river. The potter will shape fresh clay. The scribe will steady his reed pen. Children will laugh beside the dusty paths. The ovens will glow once more. Smoke will rise gently above the village. And somewhere, as evening comes again, another bowl will be filled with flour and water. Another pair of hands will knead soft dough. Another linen cloth will be folded across its surface. Another family will drift into sleep while tomorrow's bread quietly rises beside them. The rhythm never truly ends. Like the Nile itself, it simply continues. Through seasons of flood and harvest. Through years of sunshine and cool evenings. Through the lives of people whose names have long been forgotten, yet whose simple routines carried an entire civilization forward. History is often remembered through great temples, towering statues, and the names of powerful rulers. But the quiet heartbeat of ancient Egypt lived here as well. In humble kitchens. In worn clay bowls. In flour-covered hands. In the patient waiting between sunset and sunrise. In the comforting smell of fresh bread filling a small home beside the river. These ordinary moments were never carved into stone. No monument was built for the woman who rose before dawn to knead another loaf. No inscription praised the farmer who returned each evening with tired feet and hopeful hands. No scroll carefully recorded the child who watched dough rise for the first time with quiet wonder. Yet together, these lives formed the gentle foundation upon which kingdoms stood. As the morning grows brighter, the village slowly disappears into the rhythm of another ordinary day. The sounds of grinding stones begin again. Sandals brush softly across packed earth. Water jars are lifted. Doors open. Birds circle above the river. The Nile flows onward, carrying the reflections of another peaceful sunrise. And somewhere within that timeless current, it is easy to imagine that every loaf ever baked, every quiet conversation shared beside an oven, every patient night spent waiting for bread to rise, still lingers like a gentle echo upon the water. Now, the sun has climbed above the horizon. The village is awake. The dough has become bread. The story has become memory. And the Nile continues its endless journey, just as it always has. So let your thoughts become as calm as the quiet river. Let the warmth of the morning drift gently away. Let the distant sounds of sandals, birds, and softly moving water fade into peaceful silence. May the steady rhythm of the ancient world carry away the weight of the day. May your breathing become slow and easy, like the patient current of the Nile. May your mind rest as quietly as the humble clay bowl waiting beside a cool mud brick wall. And as the river flows endlessly beneath the white Egyptian sky, may you drift gently into a deep, peaceful, and comforting sleep. Good night.